All right. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Carlos, Brown Liquor Cigars podcast, and we have Omar.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Skylar.
Hey.
All right. So, y'all know I like story time.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is good or bad. I got plenty.
So I'm going to put myself out here and give us a little story. And I think I may have mentioned this to you before, Skylar, but it was really cool, your response, because it let me know that I trusted you as a friend before that, but I think after this point, like the point, and not like I'm keeping tabs, but like the points just like shot up after this.
Hey, I'll take it.
So, so when I was going through my process of my divorce, it's something that Omar, I know you may have experienced this too. It's something you don't really think about, and in the whole grand scheme of things, I guess it's not that important compared to what's going on. But I did go through this period. It's like, oh, well, what am I going to tell my friends? And it's like, do you have a conference call? You tell everybody at once? It's like, what do you do? Like, it's just,
do I put it on my status?
Do
I just tell everybody?
But I remember I talked to you one day. You might not even remember this. And I was like, hey, I got something to tell you. And then your response, I can't remember what you said verbatim, but basically I said something like, you may already know. And then you said, I might or I might not. Like, what? Just tell me what.
Right.
And then when I told you, I was like, oh, okay. But you held it, or at least like it never circled back around to me that I knew. Or that you knew.
Y'all get what you're saying. Yeah.
Whatever. So that's basically what we're talking about today. Circles, friend circles, specifically when it comes to guys. Mm-hmm. So I just put this out there. Like I think I'm blessed to have like several really close guy friends. And I think I really just got blessed and looked up on that because generally, I'm not close with a lot of guys right off the bat because I feel like usually there's always some kind of like competition thing or contrary to popular belief, I've told more secrets to women, or maybe not even secrets, but just something in confidence to women. Yeah. And they've held it versus a lot of times telling it to a dude and they have not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's weird. I know some people don't have that experience. But people will often say that they feel like women are messy, but I feel like sometimes guy circles can be a little messy too. So, Omar, I'll start with you. What do you feel about that? Like, do you think that circles of guy friends can be a little muddy or messy sometimes?
I think it depends on the circle of friends of guys that you have, but in my experience, I haven't dealt with that. It's been the opposite, right? Where I think for me and my experience, it took me a while to get to a point where I was vulnerable to let the group of guys that I was around, that I surrounded myself with, to be honest, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm struggling with this. This is what I have going on. And I think for me, the experience has been that I haven't felt judged, or I've never felt, oh, this is going to get around or it's going to come back around. So I've actually had the opposite experience of that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Skylar, what about you?
You know what's so funny is I had a conversation. I got my daughter's hair retwisted, and I had a conversation with the hairstylist about how men friend groups act. We had this conversation for like an hour. Yes, bro. Like last Sunday, we talked about it for like an hour. Shout out to my friend Zen. Yeah, she does my kids' hair and everything. So yeah, that's so funny when you brought it up. With guy circles, there's so much, man. Like you would assume there's not cattiness and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, cattiness and mess isn't, just for women, man. It's for everybody out here. So it's funny.
Yeah.
It's hard to open up, I find, in a group of guy friends because it's usually not a safe place. It's not. Guy groups are usually not a safe place to be vulnerable. because somebody's going to be like, pow, got you with a joke right there. And you're like, well, I wasn't really joking.
Right. I was serious.
Right. And then it's kind of like, well, what do I do? Do I say, well, hey, man, I'm trying to be serious? Then everybody's like, oh, here you go with that shit.
Right.
But I think that's the problem with guy groups is it's a place where it's not safe. I know for me, the first group of friends that I introduced Britt to were a group of four female friends. We met at Chili's. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
No, not Chili's. What's that place, man, with the croissants?
Cheddar's.
Yes, there we go.
The honey butter.
The honey butter. Yes, sir.
Hey.
The first group of friends that Brittany met when I was serious was a group of female friends.
Really?
Yep. We sat down.
And these were your close female friends?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, she sat with my close friends. And we ate, we talked, laughed, had a good time. And with your group of male friends, I think you hit it on the head. A lot of times it's a lot of competitiveness, whether it be for, just any and everything. Like, I'm not even going to lie and sit up like I'm not competitive. I'm competitive as hell. I compete in everything under the sun. I like competition because it's clear. It's a winner and a damn loser right there. It lets you know where you fall. Ain't no gray area. Ain't no confusion.
Right, it's just there.
Yeah, either I'm better than you or you're better than me. And that's for me, that's how I operate for competitions. But I'm learning that as a grown man, you need to have other grown men that are emotionally stable to confide in. And you can't confide in a woman with some of the things that men have to go through.
Right.
We have a different standard when it comes to being in a relationship, into just being a person. Our standards, our rubric is different. So it makes it real hard to try to improve on that when all you're getting is judgment and competition. It's not really a place where you can go to really say, man, let me ask my homies, let them know I'm feeling some type of way about this. Because a lot of times they don't know how to respond. That's what I find out. A lot of times they just don't know how to respond when it deals with emotions because they don't know how to deal with their own. So how are they going to help you deal with yours?
Do you think that's because, you just stated one thing about it, like they may not know how to deal with their emotions, but do you think it's also maybe they just haven't been through that particular thing, so maybe they just don't know what to say because they haven't been through it, or is it
No, because we can discuss anything. I don't have to go through it to offer any type of advice or any type of, well, you know what? And I would do X, Y, and Z if that happened to me. Or I could just say, hey, you know what? I think you're handling this really well. Like, I've never been through divorce, but if you were to call and say, hey, man, I'm kind of going through this, I would be like, you know what, Los, I think you've handled this really well. I think you held your emotions together. You did this, you did that. You don't have to go through it to reaffirm and to confirm someone's feelings of, hey, you're doing a good job. Like, I don't have to go through it to just express some type of support or some type of understanding. You don't have to go through that. I can always say, hey, man, I haven't been through it, but from what I see, you're doing a good job. You're doing this, you're doing that. And I think a lot of times in a group setting of friends, you don't know what you're going to get because it depends on what friend replies, especially in like group chats.
Yeah,
it depends on what happens or who gets it. It might be the jokester that gets it, and he doesn't know that you're trying to be serious, so they throw out a joke. And at that point, I'm pretty sure a person shuts down. It's like, well, I ain't going to bring that shit up no more. So it really depends on the dynamic of the group.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, too, because I think we as a society now, we're so used to this texting culture.
Oh, yeah.
Just, whatever you say, you just put in a text or a chat or group or whatever. Now, for me, and maybe this makes me kind of old school, I don't know about for y'all, but if I have something like really serious to say, I'm not going to put it in a group chat. Like, I probably would call like you individually or somebody else in the group individually, or maybe like, if we all together, I might just say it or whatever. Yeah. But I think text messages can sometimes be misread. And to your point, I think sometimes you can put something serious in a text message and the person might not purposely be trying to.
You can't read tone. You can't read tone.
Yeah, you can't really read the tone. So you might be shooting a joke back and you're thinking, okay, we're good because we've been joking all, Monday through Thursday.
Right. The whole chat's been a joke and then you drop something. But I think a lot of times people preface it with a, hey, man, I got a serious thing real quick.
Right. Then you should know. It's serious. Okay. All right. So Omar, you said you never had that issue before, right? As far as
no, and I think I kind of want to hit on something that Skylar said. Sorry, as far as there is that environment where there's not very many places where you can go where you can be vulnerable with other men, but you realizing that that's important and that we all need that, that's huge, right? Because like you said, nothing wrong with being vulnerable with women, group of friends, or your spouse or whoever, but there is a difference when you can be vulnerable with another man and they can empathize, because maybe, like you said, maybe they haven't gone through divorce, but there's a lot more other things that we do struggle, and sometimes we think that we're the only ones going through it as men. But really, when you sit down in a safe space with other men and you talk about these issues, you start realizing, man, a homeboy's going through the same thing that I am. He's feeling the same way.
You all have the same
it's
struggles.
not just me. So there's definitely not enough places where men can find that, but it is really important to do that. For myself, like, I had a different experience because, like, I come from a military background. So, like, the guys that I served with, those were my brothers, right? So we went through a lot of shit together to where, there was no filters, there was no boundaries. Like, we went through the shit, and we knew when one of us was going through some fucked up shit, and because we've gone through the worst together. So in a way, like, we could talk about, like, all kinds of stuff, especially, and sometimes some vulnerable stuff as well, right? Because, like, veterans or active duty service members, they go through something very particular that kind of bonds you together with a brotherhood. And then now I found something similar in the church that I go through. So I'm in a community group with nothing but men. And then I know I've talked about before, I went through a 12-step program through Watermark Community Church called Regeneration. And that's a year commitment of, going there every week, talking to men and talking about your struggles and the things that you're trying to overcome. So for me, like, just having been through it, there are organizations and groups of men that are accomplishing in that. It's just a matter of finding the right ones, right? But also, I do have friends that I can't be vulnerable like I am with these other guys, right? So it's just a matter of, like, expanding your circle, still keeping the friends that you've had for years or from childhood, but then starting creating other groups, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you can kind of sway your boys to get to where you're at, but I see that as, like, leveling up and working together, but it's needed for sure.
I think you bring up a good point too about the military and your friends, and not knocking the church in any way. I think having church groups and relationships with God, of course, that is top tier. You should do that. But I would say, I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine there's a certain sense with your military friends, maybe a natural bond that you all have because you went through the same experience. Like, you don't even really have to talk about it. It seems like it would be that way. Or was it? Yeah,
because honestly, like, you're dealing with life and death scenarios. Like,
at
any moment, at any moment, that buddy of yours cannot be there tomorrow, right? So in a way, you say the things that you have to say because you realize that, and also too, like, I think a lot of the times we should also, I know it's hard to do, but understand too that, like, hey, like, that can happen here too in the regular civilian life. I can lose my life tomorrow. Who knows? Only God knows, right? And that's why there should be a sense of urgency to say, man, like, am I feeling isolated? Do I not have a safe space where I can talk to other men? Maybe I should, like, get on that and be proactive and find that group of men. And I'm not saying that every church has this, and I know the church has this fault or whatnot, but in my experience, like, I can say that I found that at Watermark Community Church, right? And like, I tell John all the time, like, the first time I went in there, the guy that was praise and worshiping, he's like, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm recovering from pornography and masturbation, in front of, like, hundreds of people. I was like, whoa.
So clearly that's a safe place.
Yeah. Right. So at that moment, I realized, oh shoot, like, you know, and slowly but surely, I had to reset my mind and understand that, okay, it is a safe space. I can, you know, open up and share some of the things that I'm not proud of that I never thought I would confess to anybody else, especially a man.
Right, you know? right, exactly.
But it happened, and there was a lot of growth that happened going through regeneration, and I highly encourage it for some of the male listeners here, or even females. They have a female ministry within regeneration, because I know females, in a way, they have more safe spaces, but they're also struggling. So it's for both genders.
Okay. Okay, so I want to ask y'all this question, because I know we've talked about on here before deal breakers in relationships, but you know there are also deal breakers in friendships.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So would you all say that it's a deal breaker if you tell a friend something in confidence and then it circles back? Like you know you only maybe told that person and maybe one other person, or maybe you've only told them. Like, is that something that you would question a friendship over?
It depends on how it got back to me, honestly. The way I operate is I go by, I learned this from a basketball coach, Coach Donnell, KYP, know your personnel. Pretty much you got to know who you're dealing with at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so for me, I operate under the assumption that if I tell a friend something and they're married, I assume that spouse knows.
Damn. Okay.
Top.
You just did like in the lesson plan, how when they be jumping ahead and that's what I was gonna get to. But yeah, okay.
I always assume. Whatever I tell a married male friend, I assume the spouse knows. Because at the end of the day, the spouse is always the best of the best friend, or that's how I operate. I just always operate under that assumption that whatever I tell you, your wife would know. So if I tell a married man something, I assume that the wife would know. There's also strong friend groups within friend groups. You have best friends, you have great friends, you have good friends. Yeah. And sometimes all of those people can be mutual friends. Yeah. And when that happens, whatever I tell this friend, I assume that their best friend will probably know. And I'm okay with that.
It doesn't matter. Now, is that your thought on just certain things you tell them, or does it matter like anything?
Anything.
You tell them in confidence?
Anything. I always, because for one, I never operate under the assumption that if I tell one person a secret, they're just going to die with that in their heart and spirit. Somebody, no, I never
have
do.
That expectation?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think anybody should expect that expectation of privacy or secrecy, because at some point, whether intentional or non-intentional, it might be told just an accident, you know. And a lot of times I think that's how things kind of circle around, especially in mutual friend groups, because it's like, well, damn, I thought they might have told you, bro, my bad, don't say nothing, you know.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it kind of operates. And I mean, I don't think that it's any type of betrayal or anything like that, because to me that's strong. To me, betrayal is intentional. You had the intent to hurt. Yeah. But I just really operate that if you're married, your spouse knows. If we're all mutual friends, I assume that if I tell you that your best friend might know, and I'm okay with that, because I figure that's how people operate. I just really think that's how people go, especially for males. I think like you were saying, you know, women typically don't tell. Males will tell just as quick. I don't think it's ever been. I can honestly say I've been told shit, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And, you know, I keep my mouth closed. Now, if I were to tell you and then you told your best friend, okay, cool, I don't care. And then somebody else off the street come up to me with my business, then we have a problem. So it really depends on how it gets to me. And that will determine how I operate with you going forward.
Okay. Omar?
Yeah, I think it also depends, to Skylar's point. I guess if I'm having that conversation and I make it known up front, hey, let's just keep it within the circle, then the expectation has been set. But if I tell you something and I don't set those expectations, then I have to assume that, you know, you might tell somebody in casual talking and not assume that you're maliciously trying to spread rumors or whatnot, right? Yeah. But if I did set that expectation up front and you broke that trust, then I think that would be an issue for me. right? And I think that's one of the things that they set up initially when we go into those step groups, that like some of the ground rules is that like, hey, whatever's discussed here is not for you to go and talk to your wife about it or discuss details or whatnot. So that they're big on that, right? Because again, like if I'm being vulnerable and it's a safe space and I'm sharing stuff that's difficult that a lot of men have been through, and sometimes we don't have an outlet or other men that we can discuss with, why would I want you to go and discuss that with your spouse or whoever, right? Or other friends. But man, like I know I've been in situations where previously with my ex-wife, like, man, like, I don't know if it's a woman thing, but there's stuff that I got to know that I was like, why am I hearing this? Like, I don't want to hear this. Like, I don't need to know about this.
Why are you telling me this?
Yeah. Exactly. And then, like, I don't know if, like, maybe women know that, like, if they tell your homegirl something, like, they're probably going to tell their spouse or whatnot. But I don't know. Are you familiar with that? Or, like, have you encountered that?
I have. And it's funny you say that because, so in my marriage, when I was married, I kind of caught heat. I mean, it was funny because it was like one of those things. It's like, I really respect you for this, but I don't like you for this at the same time. So I'm that friend. Like, if you tell me something, I'm not telling who I'm with. That's just me. But to your point, Skylar, I expect that to a certain degree from my friends, but not totally. So, like, I'll give you a good example. Okay, so, like, if I tell you something, to me, you telling Brittany isn't that big of a deal because I feel like y'all both know how to hold water for the most part.
Yes.
Like, like you might tell each other, but I feel like you know how to hold water.
Yeah, it won't come out because I feel like the one thing I do assume, though, is if you tell your spouse shuts up. Because that's a respect that your spouse should have for you. You know what I mean? If I tell Britt anything, I don't even have to tell her, hey, don't say nothing. Like, if we're talking, that's our talk. That's it. It stops there. But also, I'm the friend that I know what to tell my spouse and what not to. So it's like don't get twisted out there, people. You tell me something, I'm not running home to tell Britt. It's just like, it's never like that. It's certain things you might discuss, or I might come to her with a situation to see how I can actually respond to you. And it's not so much as, hey, well, Carlos told me da-da-da. It might be, hey, man, a friend told me X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah. Just
like, how can I deal? Because, again, like I said, I think friend groups, sometimes we don't know how to communicate feelings and make somebody feel comfortable and vulnerable in a space. And we assume that with women. So who do we go to for advice? Yeah. You go to your spouse and say, hey, how can I talk to my friend about this, Y, and Z? Or my friend told me this. How do I make him feel comfortable? Or let him know that I understand or something like that. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm doing it for. I'm not just going to go gossip. I'm usually going to try to see how I can address something.
Yeah, and I was going to say that there's a big difference between that and gossiping. Right. Oh, let me tell you about
let me tell you what I heard in the 12-step program today, babe.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just put it out there.
Also, too, I think it ruins it because, like, if old girl told me something about one of her friends or whatnot, and then we're in a gathering together. I'm like, ooh, you's a hoe. I was like, oh, you be out on the
look at her nigga over there eating chicken. Like, don't even know it.
And then I'm like, oh man, like, and I don't like that feeling. I'm like, why did you have to ruin it, right? I just wanted to meet your friends. I don't want to know what the
Which
fuck.
one is a hoe?
I don't know how. I don't want to know how many of this girls fucking and this and that. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to know if a friend was cheating or something. Because then I'm looking at this dude like, bro, he's just kissing all on her, bro. Exactly. Don't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are the worst, man. You're like, oh man. And then you feel for the dude if it's something to do with like cheating. You're like, man, poor dude.
Then you end up liking him, and you're like, dog.
I just want to help you and give you a hug, bro.
Right.
Come on.
You see them over there eating off the same fork, like,
don't do it. But I think too, to your point, Omar, because I was in that situation too, where my ex-wife would tell me certain things, and not even about like friend groups and nothing, but just stuff in general.
Right.
And I think sometimes with women, the thought process is, well, I told you, so you should tell me.
Oh,
and I always make it known up front. You can tell me whatever you want to say about. I'm not telling you.
Shit.
If my friend came to me and they said, I'm just not telling you.
Like, this ain't transactional at all, right here.
Yeah, right.
This ain't it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. So, I think sometimes it's easy to get kind of caught up with that. But what I will say, I have some friends. Like I say, I know you and Brittany. Like I feel like I trust y'all in that regard. But I also have some friends where I'm not going to tell the guy friend anything confidential because I know how his wife is. So I know if it gets back, then when it gets to her, she's going to potentially twist it. And if it comes out, then it's probably going to come out differently than what I told him. Yep. And at that point, if it gets out, to me, my issue is not, then that's when I would probably question the friendship with the guy because my thing is, my issue at that point.
Because that guy knows his wife ain't shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, it's twofold. It's that, and then plus you told, which I was kind of sort of okay with because I didn't, like I always say, I think people can deal with an open secret, but once you confirm shit, then that changes the dynamic. So if I tell you something in confidence, I have the expectation that you're not going to tell. But in the back of my mind, if you married, I'm not going to think, okay, you're probably going to tell his wife. Yeah. But if you tell your wife, then that's one. If I find that out, that's one thing. Then another step is if it gets back to me through her, then I'm not even mad at her. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, because you don't want to tell her. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it should be. And like I said, I typically, like I said, I operate like that. I assume your wife knows just because that's your wife. Yeah. Now, there are things where you can be like, hey, man, this is straight up. Just me and you. That's it. Then you know what? It's shut down. It's just me and you. That's cool. Yeah. I would never be like, to me, if someone specifically tells you, hey, y'all, I got to tell y'all something. It's just going to be us three.
Correct.
That's it. It can't go outside of this. Then if you tell the spouse, then you dead wrong, especially if you know that your spouse is, chatty Cathy. Yeah. Right. And that's also the worst, though, man. Like it's always awkward when you're cool with somebody and you don't really fuck with their spouse. You know, it makes it awkward because it's like, damn, I want to hang out with old boy, but shit.
But you here.
Yeah, it's like,
but you got to be here,
right? It's like, well, how can I tell him don't bring his wife in a nice way? I know it's a couples thing, but can you just come solo?
It'll be awkward for you, but it's okay,
right? and I think that's like really important too. Why men need to have that group, whether it's one person or two, or a group of guys that you can be fully vulnerable, right? Because like, not that you don't want to be vulnerable with your spouse, but there's just some things that like maybe she doesn't want to hear about it, or maybe she doesn't have the capacity to kind of empathize. Not that she can't listen, but you need like different feedback, right? So I think that's really important. And for piece of advice for the ladies listening, that like if you do have your guy or whether he's your spouse or boyfriend or friend, and they do get to a point where they're vulnerable with you, like really understand that takes a lot for a guy to do. Right. And it's not something that
it's a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment. It's not something that's entwined in us naturally to do right away. Right. It takes a lot of maturity, a lot of growth to get there. Right. And unfortunately, there's a lot of men that they don't have those skills. Right. But that's what we're trying to advocate, that, hey, like it is possible. Right.
Definitely.
And then I think both genders can help in that, and having that respect to, if you are vulnerable, Carlos, with a lady or whatnot, to where she takes it as a compliment, and maybe sometimes just having the courtesy of, even though he didn't say specifically not to say anything, I know this is something really vulnerable, really delicate and intimate to him, to where I'm not going to share it with anybody.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because that's something I was going to bring up too. Some things people have told me, this is male, female, whatever, and because of the nature of what they said, they didn't have to tell me, oh, this is just between me and you. Like, I just kind of was like, okay, I know what it is. Yeah, right. I'm just gonna keep this between us.
And that's good friends. They're good friends know when they shouldn't say anything. Yeah. And you shouldn't have to, because if I have to have a conversation, I always have to say, hey, man, don't say nothing. Like, you're not really my friend anymore. I shouldn't tell you. Like, you should already know when something should be discussed, when something shouldn't. Even within a male group, I think the big issue with male groups is that we don't know how to effectively communicate about emotional or vulnerable subjects, because anytime from birth we're always told, hey man, get over it, you're good, move on, keep going, or hey, it'll pass. So when there is a male group and a guy comes in and he's trying to express something, it's kind of like, nigga, get over that. Like, and that's not, that is not an acceptable answer.
Yeah, you can't just say get over it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something too earlier, Skylar. I kind of want to go back to that competitive nature.
Yeah.
I think all men have that to some degree. I know for me personally, sometimes where I've struggled with guy friendships is I can be competitive, like if we're doing something like a game or, whatever, like in that moment, like whatever we're doing. But like typically, I think where a lot of guy circles that I kind of see from the outside looking in, where it goes wrong is everybody's competitive, but they're not taking into account that some things people within the group may not be impressed with. So I'll use myself as an example. So like I may be competitive on some things, but I'm really not a materialistic type person. So like I'm not gonna be like impressed with nice car. I mean, if you have a nice car, hey, that's more power to you.
Right. That's nice, man.
Yeah. Right. I'm happy with my little Altima, and I don't have no car notes. So
there you go, man.
I'm good. But I feel like sometimes you kind of have to know your audience. So like for me, like sometimes you can tell, like in a friend group, I feel like when somebody within that group is trying to pull or like drive that competition.
Yes.
And I know like for me at this phase in life right now, the only thing that I would be maybe remotely jealous about if somebody had is if they tell me they're debt free. I'd be like, ooh, teach me your ways. You debt free? How did you get there? How did you get there?
How, Sway?
Yeah, right.
Help a brother out.
Absolutely right.
That's
Yeah, and for me, like I said, I'm very competitive, but I'm not competitive in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you
like
mean.
I could care less about your income, what you got, and all that. Mm-hmm. Because like I think a lot of my friends know I could care less about the material items. I don't care whatsoever. I work at home. I work in a tank top. I wear flip flops. I don't care about what you got. That's what I'm not going to compete with you in. I'm not going to do it. I could care less. But I think I've been fortunate that a lot of my friends, I don't really have many that are driven by material items, and I think I don't have that type of issue in a friend circle. But I'm competitive with like athletics, like if you're working out, I'm like, oh, okay, we know what we're gonna work out.
Then right, that's different.
I think a lot of us got Apple Watches, so we're always like, hey, I ran today. What'd you do today? We might stuff like that, like healthy competition.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, but I'm not competing. Oh, you got a 2020 car? Well, I'm gonna get a 2022. Like I'm not gonna go into debt to impress a bunch of men.
Yeah, you're not following the keeping up with the Joneses.
No,
right?
nope. Okay. I'm keeping up with my bills. That's what I'm keeping up with. I rate success on if I can set my bills to auto pay. God damn it, I'm winning. Yeah. If I can auto pay some bills,
that's true.
What? That's impressive to me.
You can't do that auto
Thank
pay.
you. I'm not paying this one on time.
I'm gonna pay you 7 days after this.
Right. You gonna wait till the next check hit? Let me go ahead and make this phone call. No. To me,
true.
That's what I'm impressed by, those type of things. Like you said, if you're debt free, I'm big on trying to invest and retire early. So if you know how to do that, help your boy out. I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I find not competition, but I'll ask for help for advice and things like that. But I've been good with a good group of friends that I have for a while that I don't see any competition as far as like material items. Because I don't really associate with people that are materialistic. Like, you can sense when people are those type of people.
You can pick up.
Like, when they buy something, it's posted. When they do this, it's posted, and it's like No, I'll hit like because you're my boy. Hey, that's nice. Right, that's cool.
Yeah,
but it's not going to make me get up and say, "Oh man, I gotta work." Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't care at all, bro. Like I don't, man. It's just I'm very, very low key. Like I don't like to draw too much attention because I'm raised old school. You draw too much attention to yourself, somebody gonna come and take it. Yeah, and so if I buy a TV or something, I'm that dude that I'll throw it in the car and I'm gonna drive that thing to Walmart and dump it there or whatever, whatever trash can that's not in front of my house. So I still do that. It's stupid, but I do it. Anytime I buy something, either I'm cutting up the box or I'm putting it in the car and I'm driving to some other neighborhood and dumping it there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and so what would y'all say in regards to men and women and just the notion of, because a lot of people would say that women are messy, or when you hear like you can't have a lot of women in a group together because it's going to be mess. Do you think that men are just as messy or maybe less or maybe more, or like Omar, what do you think?
I think, and I've seen it recently, but I think a lot. I think more often with women, they struggle with being honest within their little group, because I have seen where some women are very judgmental, right? Even though on the outside they're saying, "Oh, girl, I understand," yeah, oh my gosh, it must be hard. I empathize. In their mind, they're like, "Oh, this bitch," like, they're gonna be like, "How dare she? Who does she think she is?" And even though they communicate more, I think a lot of the times I feel like they have to say the right thing because they can't be honest because of the fear of being judged by other women. And I think with men, once you do find that safe space to be vulnerable, to be honest, like honestly, I don't even think about being judged. I'm like, because I know that what I found in that group and those men that are with me, being vulnerable with me, like I don't feel judged. I don't have that fear of them, gossiping or thinking that I'm less than a man. So I think there is a difference in those two, and that might be wrong, but that's kind of what I feel in my opinion.
Okay, Skylar, what about you?
Oh man, I don't think messy is associated with the gender at all. I think men and women are messy about different things. They're just as messy. They're just messy about different shit. Like we said, men, we're competitive a lot of times on athletic stuff, and then you have that toxic part of male relationships where they're competitive with materialistic things, and that's more so deals with your stereotypical man, which is, my wife doesn't work. All right, that's great, nigga. Mine going to work tomorrow at 8. I could care less. So I think we compete, or men try to make competition out of being a provider financially or a protector, or things that are like stereotypically associated with being a man. And I think with women, they compete on more of a relationship type competition. I think women might compare relationships more than men might. That's just my opinion. And I could be wrong, so women don't attack me. I'm just saying what I think. Because I think the reason why men and women compete on different things is because of what we place value in. I think women kind of place value more on their relationships and nurturing, and men place value more on being able to provide and be able to protect. So when I say I think women compete more in relationships, it's not, a knock. It's just I think women talk about their relationships more than men do. Men really don't. I don't get around a group of men and we talk about our marriages or relationships. It kind of goes like this: "Hey man, your wife and kids good? Yep, bet." That's the conversation. That's dead. That's you said they good. Damn it, I believe you. I think women will get together. "Hey, how your wife and kids?" "Well, the husband is doing da 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 da. Little Johnny's over here. Natasha's doing this." Yeah, they actually go into the detail. So I think that's why women do compare those things. Well, my husband doesn't really do that, and they're like, "Oh, mine does this," and da da da. So they talk about it more. So that's why I think their competition is on that side, because that's what they discuss. And with men, that's literally how the conversation goes. When people ask me how Brittany the kids, "Oh, they straight." That's it. We
just
done.
Leave it at that.
Right, they good.
Yeah.
Now, like, if you really know them, then I'll be like, oh, this one's doing that, or Tummy's playing the violin and kicking people's butt in jiu-jitsu, or Summer likes to play Legos. But I'm never going into like, man, you know what? The kids have just been really on me this week. I'm a little tired and da-da-da. I don't do that because, honestly, when people ask, I feel like they don't really care. You know what I mean? I hate to say it.
Just to
right,
ask.
They're asking just because, I have
that.
to. And then if you go into, like, really how they're doing it or how you feel, it's kind of like, oh, damn, I wasn't prepared for that. Like, damn, what do I say now? Like,
it's like asking if you had a good day, right?
Right, yeah. And then you really tell me you didn't? Like, shit. So I think they're messy in their own way.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think that men and women are equally or can be equally messy. The one thing, though, I will say that I respect about women is I feel like they're more in your face with it. Like if a woman is being messy for the most part,
she's going to tell you, I'm being messy.
Yeah, she's being messy, or even she might not even have to say anything. You can sit and watch a group of women, and by their body language, you can tell like right off the bat, oh, like she don't like her, or like,
exactly.
Yeah, with guys, I think sometimes, I don't know why, but it seems like sometimes with guys we kind of fake it a little bit more.
See, I'm not good at that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
I'm
not
horrible
really
at it.
Yeah, but I think sometimes guys do kind of act like, oh yeah, we're cool, and then it's really not. The case.
I think men just are okay with being cordial more than women.
Yeah, well,
I'll be cordial with you because being cordial doesn't take any energy. Yeah, I can high and buy your ass to death, and it won't cost me nothing. You know what I mean? It takes effort to give you anything more than being cordial. Yeah, like if I want to be an asshole to you, that takes effort and energy from me.
True. Yeah.
Now I can high and buy you all day. I walk by people all the time. I'm in groups.
What's up?
Yeah. Hey man, what's up, man? You good? Straight.
And that's it.
That's it. I ain't gotta like you. And 9 times out of 10, the people that I don't fuck with, know I don't fuck with them. Yeah. So, and I think it's okay. People got to get over thinking that it has to be a beef. Everybody doesn't have to be your goddamn friend. And that's what I tell my kids that all the time. I tell them straight, y'all don't need no goddamn friends. Just 5 of y'all. Be each other friends. Y'all good. Y'all don't need no more.
Not they don't need no more.
Yeah, you don't need no more. So I think people have to understand that everybody's not going to jail. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the people I don't fuck with, it's not that they're just shit people. It's just we don't vibe. You know what I mean? And it's okay. And I think people have a problem accepting that everybody doesn't have to like you.
Uh-huh. I agree.
I know my personality is not for everybody. I know it ain't. And I am okay with it. If you don't like me, it's not going to stop me from breathing, eating, shitting, going to sleep.
Right.
Don't care. That's fine.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So, in closing with our shot of truth.
Give me that shot.
Hey.
Let me get that purple one. I want to see one in there.
Boom. So, what would y'all tell?
Grazie.
Look.
Give one to our producer, too.
Oh,
yeah, John.
Right. Boom. Yeah.
John, come on. What you think, John? Yeah. I want to hear John's. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to take over, Carlos. But John, who do you think's more messy? I feel like John should have been here for this because I think he would have had a field day with it.
John.
Men are more messier than women.
No, he didn't say that.
That was not what I was going to expect from you, sir. That's a representative. That's not John.
If I had a male friend and you told your wife something I told you, we're no longer friends.
Oh, whoops. Boom.
I'm not friends with your wife. I'm friends.
There you go.
That makes sense, yeah.
You can't you tell your wife everything, just say, hey, what you
don't tell me.
My wife is going to know. And then I know not to tell you shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't talk a lot anyway, so if I'm telling you something
it's big,
personal, it's major.
But see, that's something a friend of yours would know, though.
Yeah.
So that's why whoever you told wouldn't tell their spouse because they already know how you operate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, I just had to get your opinion, man. I'm sorry,
No,
you know I like messing with John, man. John like to stay behind the camera, you know.
I'll drink to that shot of truth.
Yes,
there we go.
Yeah. So what? Hey, I guess that was a good one to close out. Right.
Yeah, John took his shot of truth already.
Yes. So what would y'all say, Skylar and I was about to say Keith, Omar?
Yeah, I'll say that. really find that group of friends. Like, you're not, and maybe you do have one friend that you can just completely be 100% honest and vulnerable. But what I've found is that it takes multiple friends to kind of fulfill some of those things that you want to share or be vulnerable in. So I have a friend that I can talk about military stuff, and then a friend that I can talk about like really personal, intimate things, So it just varies. And I think for me, that's what works. But, definitely find and seek, and you will find it, if that's what you're looking for. If you feel yourself stuck or struggling with that, and not having a safe space to really be vulnerable and talk about those things that might be hard to talk about. There are groups for men and women that provide a safe space for that.
Yeah. All right. Skylar?
For me, I would just say KYP, know your personnel. If you know you have some friends, if you're dealing with best friends inside of a mutual friend group, I always operate on the side of just cautiousness. So I just assume that you're going to tell this person. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's a negative thing. I don't look at it as a downplay. Like, I'm not like John. I'm not going to defriend you and be like, you're dead to me now. No, because I kind of set myself up to know that you're going to tell that. So I am okay with it. So I just really know who you're dealing with, and also I think a lot of times these situations shouldn't happen because we know who to tell our business to. And I think that kind of comes into play when you do feel some type of way or you feel betrayed because you had the expectation of privacy with that person. You expected everything to be confidential. And then when it's not, then you get hit with all those feelings of disappointment, betrayal, and all that. So I just kind of, I like to keep it fresh, keep it light. So I kind of expect you to tell the people that you're closest to, and I'm okay and I accept that.
So I got a question to ask Skylar. I know we got to go.
Oh, Lord, you're going to put me on the spot. What your ass done told Britt?
So you said you expect them to tell. So does that mean that you're careful with what you tell them?
No. That's a very good question, but I don't.
What you tell them?
Nah.
Okay.
Not at all. Because that's a real good question. I don't, man. Because a lot of times if I'm in a mutual friend group, like I said, I don't mess with a lot of people. So if I know that if I'm not your best friend, then, but I am your best friend's friend. Everybody knows me and knows I have no problem cutting people off. So once you do that, I'm good on you. So I just know the people that I'm dealing with and know that they're not going to do anything. I just know that, I know we were specific with, well, if you tell one person, no, I just kind of figure you'll tell somebody. But it doesn't change what I will tell you. No.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what everybody said. I will say, however, though, I do tailor it to John's point. Knowing who that person is maybe will give me a clue into how much I tell, how I tell it. And like I say to anybody, this is male or female, I would say just be careful with how you handle what people tell you in confidence, because you might be telling somebody else's business one day, but then at some point you're going to want to tell somebody something that you want them to keep. So just try to treat them in a way that you would want to be treated. That's what I would say. If
you're a female and you tell me shit, I got a big ass mouth, so don't tell me shit.
What? Oh my God!
Don't tell me.
Right.
Male and female.
Right.
Hey, man,
I got a human. I'm gonna tell it. Oh well. Oh my God!
Man. That's what we put on the shirt for this one. I'm gonna tell it.
Right. Yes. Speaking of I'ma tell it, tell everybody to listen to the Brown Liquor Cigars podcast, and that's it.
That was
smooth,
boy. That was smooth.
Check it out.